When scavengers were evolving, there were many separate colonies on their water planet. Each colony had a fertile queen, spare queen eggs, and specialist individuals bred to be carers, workers, food gatherers, and soldiers. The historic colony wars led to huge advancements, developing an intelligent scientist class, a leaders and ruling class hierarchy. Now the one victorious colony controls their planet. There was no tolerance for other colonies on their planet. There had been some past colonies that had developed a pseudo-religion, and this was still in the colony memory. The story engine usually communicates to influence individuals, who then influence a group towards a desired position. The Scavengers' actions change based on information passed up the line. This is filtered for purpose that the scientist carers and the queen had adopted. If a change would lead to advantage, the carer scientists genetically modify some of the queen's eggs to provide the required individual variants to exploit and provide the advantage for the colony. The Space Army has a scientific warrior mix that assessed other alien species to find out if they had something new that was useful. It was then taken and returned to advance their colony. The Scavengers' purpose was the survival and advancement of their colony. Their past experience had been that advantage is gained by taking. The Scavengers are not evil. They're simply optimized for survival through assimilation, extraction, and genetic adaptation. That makes them fascinating, but also dangerous. The question became, can the story engine, Master, and I guide them into becoming a safe, constructive part of the galactic community? Or will the Keeper have to intervene? For the Scavengers to coexist with other species, 3 deep structural changes had to occur. None of these required them to abandon their identity, but did require reframing their purpose myth, redirecting colony purpose toward external, shared goals. Their purpose myth was survival and advancement of their colony. We gradually shifted this to survival and advancement of the galactic ecosystem, which includes the colony. This did not break their logic myth. It simply expanded the definition of colony to include allies, partners, and shared systems that would add greater advantage to their colony. This was the only way for them to stop seeing other species as resources to harvest. We introduced the idea of a new caste, a diplomatic interpreter caste, to the carers and scientists, as we knew they could genetically modify the queen's eggs to create new castes. The story engine influenced them to create a caste with traits to access added advantage. High empathy modeling, ability to understand non-scavenger motivations, long-term strategic thinking beyond extraction of advantage by taking, capacity to negotiate and build trust. We hoped that this caste would allow the possibility of a bridge between scavengers and the galaxy, if they accepted that there was more advantage in exchange instead of just taking. Their instinct is to extract useful traits, tech, or biology. The story engine influenced them to investigate if exchange yielded more long-term advantage than conquest. The idea that allies provide more innovation than enemies and shared research accelerated adaptation faster than isolated study. This was investigated by the Scavengers to check if cooperation was an optimal survival strategy. Their traditional purpose myth was survival and advancement of our colony. The story engine promoted survival and advancement of the galactic ecosystem, which includes our colony. The expanded definition of colony to include allies, partners, and shared systems was touted as the best advantage to the colony. It preserved their logic while redirecting it. Interpreter Seed 7, later known as Veshkara, was a subtle variant of genetically modified eggs. Interpreter Seed 7 was one of the eggs modified under the story engine's influence. The carer scientists intended to create a prototype diplomatic interpreter caste. Something cautious, analytical, and useful for understanding alien motivations and gaining advantage. But something unexpected happened. A tiny mutation, neither harmful nor planned, gave Seed 7 an unusual trait. Self-reflective cognition. Not individuality in the human sense, but the ability to model the colony's behavior in its mind. To question whether a strategy truly serves long-term advantage goals. To imagine outcomes beyond immediate extraction of advantage. This was unprecedented in scavenger evolution. Physical and cognitive traits were slightly enlarged sensory lobes. A neural pattern that allowed recursive thought. the ability to hold conflicting ideas without paralysis, a subtle capacity for emotional inference which was alien to Scavengers, a communication style that blended caste signals with emergent metaphor. To the colony, Seed 7 felt different. Not defective, just unpredictable. Seed 7's initial role in the colony was as a low-risk observer in the Space Army's Scientific Warrior Division. Seed 7 was tasked with analyzing alien behavior patterns. But Seed 7 did something no scavenger has done before. It hesitated. Not out of fear. Out of analysis. It saw that extraction is not always the optimal path. It began to propose strategies involving exchange, mutual benefit, long-term alliance, and the greater advantage of shared innovation. This was heresy to the old purpose myth. During a first contact mission, the scavenger fleet encountered a species with high defensive capability, distributed intelligence, and a cultural taboo against biological exploitation. The standard scavenger approach of take, analyze, adapt would trigger a war they could not win. Seed 7 recognized this. It communicated the information with a new concept solution to the Queen and advisors. Advantage through restraint. This phrase became the seed of a new myth, but there was internal disagreement. The ruling caste was divided. Traditionalists saw Seed 7 as a threat to the purity of purpose. Scientist carers saw a potential evolutionary leap. The warrior scientists distrusted anything that delayed action. The Queen did not decide immediately. She waited and observed. The story engine subtly amplified Seed 7's insights by nudging information that the carers should protect it. Scientists should study it. Warriors should tolerate it until instructed. The Queen considered all information with her carers and advisors. Seed 7 became a test case for whether the Scavengers could evolve beyond forcible extraction of advantage. Seed 7 was the hinge. It embodied the 3 structural changes needed for galactic coexistence. An expanded purpose myth. Reframing colony as a network of interdependent species. As a prototype diplomatic interpreter, Seed 7 was the first of its kind. Empathic, strategic, capable of trust. It demonstrated that cooperation yields greater long-term advantage for the colony. If Seed 7 succeeded, the colony would create a full diplomatic interpreter caste. Rewrite its purpose myth. Become a powerful ally in the galaxy. If Seed 7 failed, the colony would purge the mutation. Revert to forced extraction and make the Keeper isolate or destroy them. Seed 7's survival became the fulcrum of the Scavengers' destiny. Seed 7 earned a name. Veshkara, a concept meaning the one who sees beyond the colony.
The Queen is pleased and proud of her new baby. She has watched over Veshkara with a vigilance born of instinct and memory, guarding herself as well. For she knew that if dissenters judged this new path a threat, they might not only try to eliminate Veshkara but would eliminate her and hatch a replacement queen who would restore the old purpose.